Four Corners has such rich history here in the Chapel Hill community, with roots dating all the way back to Dean Smith and the way he ran his Four Corners offense. Kristian took over Four Corners 22 years ago and has revamped it to be the restaurant we know and love today. Let's go hear his story on this episode of Getting to Know the Triangle. Hey everybody, how's it going? Thanks for joining on another episode of Getting to Know the Triangle. I'm super pumped to be here with Kristian, hearing the story about Four Corners and kind of how you came in and helped it out and revamped it and got it to where it is now.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Hey Kristian, share a little bit about yourself, who you are, kind of how you got into this business. I understand you have some past in restaurant business, so yeah. Share a little bit about that.
Let's see. So I went to college of all places, University of Hawaii.
Okay.
So I wasn't from Chapel Hill. Had some ties here through my family though.
Yeah.
And bartended through college and just fell in love with the business and was lucky enough, over the next 30 years, it's hard to believe I'm saying that, 30 years to work under some really, really good teachers.
That's cool.
Growing businesses, throwing promotions, how to run a business, especially a restaurant and bar. And, always had that dream of one day, having your own. And so when I moved up here with my wife and Four Corners was available, we bought into it and been running ever since.
Yeah. Share a little bit more about how you came to learn about Four Corners being available, as you say.
So, Four Corners has a, 40 plus year history now.
Yeah.
And, Art Chansky, one of the original guys who owned it, and Phil Ford was a big part of, helping make Four Corners what it is today.
Right.
Or what it was back in the day, I should say. And then it kind of ran its course. They shut down for a while. Woody Durham came in, and he had it for a while, and then it shut down again. And then a couple really good guys came in. They're like, look, man, we got to get Four Corners back on the map. And they had great bar experience, but didn't know a whole lot about the food side of it. And so when they came in 2009, they were just struggling a little bit with kind of running the restaurant side. And that's right about when I came into town. And my wife's friend knew one of these guys. He's like, look, man, we're struggling. We could use some help. And so after coming in and checking the place out and looking at where it was and doing a little research and figuring out the history of exactly what it meant to Chapel Hill, I jumped in both hands and said, here we go.
That's awesome. And this has been home ever since?
Home ever since, yeah. So
that's cool. And that was 2010?
That was 2010.
Okay. That's awesome. Been a long road since then.
It's been crazy, man. It's been crazy.
That's cool. Well, you've helped rebuild just a really cool business and a really great restaurant. I mean, it really is like a cornerstone of Chapel Hill. We're right across from UNC and the sports teams, the sports games. I mean, this is one of the top places everybody wants to come watch it.
It's a lot of fun. It's true. We've done a good job.
I remember, I graduated in 2019, and every time we wanted to come watch the Duke UNC game here, and it was tough to get a seat. It was tough to get a spot. So you built a cool spot. Share a little bit about you came in, right, and you started to recreate. You said kind of the restaurant side is what you really brought a lot of strength and power in. Share a little bit how that dynamic was with kind of recreating the restaurant side and having the bar side there. And
the bar,
that was.
The bar, the bar is, bar give you, I got some great bartenders, and you throw them in there and a little personality, and they want to talk to people, and typically that's going to be pretty good. But being a sports restaurant, it's a 2-3 hour commitment if you're going to come watch a game, and typically with that, you've got to have some decent food because, I'm not going to go hang out someplace for 3 hours and not enjoy the food that I'm at and want to go back there again. And so, that was the very first thing that we had to do I just had to get the food right.
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife, who's probably my biggest critic, came in and we just started talking about it, and we started trying stuff and playing with it, and finally was able to put together what I consider to be a pretty friendly sports restaurant and bar menu.
Yeah.
Tying in some Chapel Hill history and having fun with that as well. The problem at that point was getting people to get back into Four Corners to trust us that the food was good, and that took a little while. But we were aggressive in some of the promotions that we did, and slowly but surely people started coming in. And I used to hear some great stories about people who are like, man, we want to come to Four Corners and watch the game and the history, but at halftime we would take turns leaving to go eat down the road, and then we would come back. I was like, wow. But it really was that bad.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I wasn't around then, so I guess I don't have that experience at Four Corners.
That's funny.
What was there like would you say there was a pivotal time where you're like, man, this is where we kind of started to turn that reputation?
There's a couple of them. We went from the first couple years really. It was just hoping to break even.
Right.
The current student body wasn't really familiar with really what Four Corners was back in 2010, 11, 12.
Right.
They knew us as a restaurant. They didn't know it really is, Dean Smith's offense. Another funny story was, ESPN came in and they're like, right after Dean Smith had passed, and they said, what do you think about Four Corners, or do you know anything about it? And they interviewed 20 students, and 19 of them said, oh my God, it's just a restaurant on Franklin Street that we go to. And then at the end of it, the ESPN guy was like, dude, it's like we just did a commercial for these guys.
Right.
That helped.
That's awesome.
It was a lot of fun. So that was one of them. And then, the biggest thing I think I could say really has kicked us up into a different gear was when the pandemic hit and the town of Chapel Hill gave us the ability to put the deck on. And at that point, then, we tried to do it right and put music and a TV and make it look nice for people coming by. Like, hey, it would more of an invitation to get people to come out and try us out.
Yeah.
And ever since people started coming, they sit outside. They're like, I bet I've had dozens of people say, I walked by here hundreds of times and never knew you were a restaurant. I walked by here dozens of times and never knew it was a bar. And then once they kind of came in and started trying the food and hanging out and they liked the vibe, we've created hundreds of new regulars. And it has just been an amazing... Since COVID. It's been an amazing run the last few years.
That's awesome. Because I know it's been trying for a lot of businesses, especially in Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
With primarily students being a lot of the motor of some of these businesses. And it's cool to hear that you guys have kind of used that time to create a lot of new business.
Yeah, it was, we were really lucky and fortunate that the town worked with us as well as they did. And I think they liked the end result of what we did. And I think it's kind of created a new goal for the town of man, we need more outdoor dining on East Franklin. We need to create and recreate, I guess, what East Franklin was, and see if we can't, get it back to something special again.
It's such a beautiful street and area. Awesome. It just needs outside dining.
Yeah, I agree.
But cool. I want to go back real quick. I know you'd thrown in there a few times. It sounds like your wife played a pretty big part in all this.
I hate to say yes, but because she'll be like, she did. She did. No doubt. Awesome. She is, like I said, she's my biggest critic. And if I start talking about something, she's like, what about this? And what about this? And what about this?
Yeah.
Sometimes she hits it out of the park.
I love it.
Not often. Just sometimes.
Gotta stay humble. No, they're pretty helpful though.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. That's cool. Well, share a little bit about where you guys are currently. I'd love for you to talk about how the current menu would compare to the menu you maybe had 10 years ago. Has it evolved quite a bit, or has it stayed pretty consistent?
Well, I would say that it's definitely evolved.
Okay.
I've been a firm believer in the fact that we use fresh product. And so, everything that we use here is fresh. In our freezer, we have shrimp, bread, and ice cream, French fries. Every, other protein, vegetable, everything we make from lasagna to our own mac, we make everything in-house.
That's awesome.
And so back in the day, it was like, you're a little bit more of a tighter budget. You're trying to just again, we're just trying to break even for a few years there. And now I feel like we've been busier. We've really, I think, upped the quality of our product and expanded it a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I talk about like I am very, very picky about the stuff that we have on our menu, and it has to be good. And I've been 12 years I've been here, and I'm still not tired of any of the food on the menu. And I rotate a lot of the stuff around what I eat, and but having fresh salads or another funny story I think is we put baby back ribs on the menu 3 times. The first time they lasted 2 months. I hated the end product, pulled them. Second, we put them on again. It wasn't consistent enough, pulled them again. And it wasn't until about 4 years ago that we finally like dialed in something that was so good that and I'm an old school, you pick up the bone, the meat falls off around kind of rib guy. And that's where they're at now.
Yeah.
And it's one of our biggest selling items, but it's definitely, I'm proud of our menu. Really, at the end of the day, I'm proud of what we have on there. Our sandwiches, I always laugh when somebody comes in, they're like, "Oh, a club," and I'm like, "Be a club." But it is. It's a
good club.
It's all good. Club. It's a good club. Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's all good.
It's telling that that you're willing to pull those things off the menu. Yeah. I feel like baby back ribs, especially at a sports bar, is like a lot of people like that. A lot of owners might just want to have that on the menu, but you're not sacrificing that being on the menu if it's not at that standard that you want. That's cool. And it's also telling that the owner eats the food. So
I love it
and loves it. Do you have a head chef that kind of
so Gabe, Chef Gabe has been with me now for, I hired him in 2010.
That's awesome.
And he was an assistant. I had another chef in here. He lasted a few years, and then Gabe was like, "Look, man, I want to step into the role," and he's been crushing it ever since.
That's cool.
Yeah, so he's a good guy.
Does he come up with a lot of ideas? Hey, maybe we should try this, and then you give it a try, and that's how some of that evolution starts?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of sitting down like you and I are talking, like, hey, what's moving, what's not moving? Yeah. I got some ideas. Let's try this. Let's try that. And we just threw on Chef Gabe's bowl on the menu, and and they're selling like crazy. And he's always throwing the numbers in my face. Like,
what's in that?
Oh my goodness! Rice, chicken, shrimp, cilantro, beans. It's fresh vegetable. It's amazing. It's just a really healthy fresh bowl.
That's cool.
Good stuff.
Chef Gabe. Yeah. Awesome. This is the behind the scenes people, and he looks like he's doing a good job back there. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, well, I'd like to ask everybody, where do you kind of see Four Corners going in maybe the next 10 years? Do you have any hopes or aspirations or things you can share with us along that line?
Yeah, right now I'm in negotiations with the building owner and trying to knock down the wall between us and the waffle shop. And
that'd be huge.
It'll be really fun. It would be a full redo. I mean, we'd redo the bar and open everything up, and it would be really, really fun. And I think with the waffle shop being such an anchor in the history of Chapel Hill as well. Yeah. One thing that I think that we would do is on Saturdays and Sundays just do a great brunch and continue to highlight the history of the waffle shop, even on our menu, or maybe give them a constant, little blurb of like what they would mean to us as well. So I think
that's sweet. Yeah, that's really sweet. That's cool. Well, we'll be on the lookout for that. It'll be cool for an update to hear about that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, sweet. Kristian, this has been awesome. I appreciate you kind of sharing your story and where Four Corners has come. It's an awesome restaurant. I mean,
thanks, man.
With history, and I can see your passion that you have behind it and your real desire to build it into something that's pivotal in the community. So that's really cool.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah. It's been a lot of fun. Pandemic year was not fun. But besides that, it's been a lot of fun.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, that's part of what tells to a successful business is pushing through those trying times, right? Those challenging moments. Every business hits them, you know, and you guys came out of it the other side stronger because of it. You know?
For sure we did. And it was, I would say this to everybody in this industry, nobody saw that coming, and those first 6 months, I didn't know if we were going to stay open. It was, or anybody in the restaurant industry, I think it was so difficult. And so, again, hats off to the town for letting us make some solid adjustments in our business plan, and like you said, just kind of helping us get through it, come out on the other side. It's been super helpful.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I'd love to ask everybody at the end before we close, I always like to tune it towards the listeners a little bit. If there's somebody listening in that has maybe a restaurant aspiration or a dream and a hope to open their own place one day, what are some, maybe you can predict some hesitations that they have, and you can speak into that a little bit.
It's not an easy industry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really not. I mean, there is a lot of moving parts to having a restaurant. And you're keeping your eyes on a lot of things between labor and food cost and rent, promotions. There's a lot of things you can't really ever fall asleep behind the wheel, and it's rare that you just have an idea that you really hit it out of the park and you don't have to look back with. I would say work in the industry a little bit. Really get to know that everybody thinks it'd be super cool to own a bar. Right. And go work in a bar for a while before you spend the money and you do
right.
it. I mean, get your feet wet and make sure you're aware of the fact of what you're getting into.
Right. What do you think? I know you said working it for a while. What do you think is a good amount of time to get a full picture of if this is something you actually want to?
I would say at least a year or two. I mean, you want to be aware of everything that's happening.
Yeah.
That's
really helpful.
And if you can get in, and if you've got somebody who's nice enough to help you, maybe learn to do liquor orders and inventories and cost your stuff out. I mean, get as much get as much of that information as you can, and then if you still love it, you're still passionate about it. I mean, I say go for it, because it is a fun lifestyle. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. Thanks, Kristian. Well, again, I know it's a busy schedule owning a restaurant. You got a lot of things going on, so I appreciate you taking some time to be on this episode. Everybody, this is a great story. You got to come try the restaurant if you've never been here. Try to pick a game day to come experience the excitement and the electricity that's happening here, and try some of the great food. But really, this was an awesome episode, and appreciate you taking your time.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it, man. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.